We all carry stories within us, some that empower us and others that weigh us down with shame or regret. These stories shape how we see ourselves in the world. The first step to rebuilding yourself is owning your story, not just the polished chapters, but the messy, imperfect ones too. When we deny or hide parts of our story, those parts take control, shaping our lives in ways we might not even realize. Owning your story means acknowledging every piece of it with honesty and compassion, even the chapters you wish you could rewrite. This process isn't easy. It requires courage to face the truths you've avoided and to name the emotions you've buried. But in this act of ownership, you reclaim your power. Instead of letting your story define you, you become the author of what comes next. You can rewrite the narrative not by erasing the past, but by reframing it. Your struggles become lessons. Remember that your story matters not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. By owning it, you create space for authenticity, connection, and the possibility of a brave new future. Hope is not a fleeting feeling or blind optimism, it's a practice, a way of thinking rooted in resilience and possibility. To rebuild yourself in 2025, cultivating resilient hope is essential. This type of hope is active. It requires effort, intention, and belief in your capacity to navigate life's challenges. Resilient hope thrives on three critical components: goals, pathways, and agency. You need a vision for where you want to go, strategies to get there, and the belief that you have the power to take action. Life will inevitably throw curveballs, but resilience is what allows you to adapt, learn, and grow through adversity. It's about recognizing that setbacks are not permanent and that challenges do not define your worth. Hope fuels this resilience by reminding you that even when things are hard, there's a path forward. Brené Brown teaches us that resilience is deeply tied to connection and self-compassion. When you lean on your support system and treat yourself with kindness, you strengthen your ability to hope. In rebuilding yourself, embrace hope as your anchor. It's not about wishing for an easier road, but about trusting that you have the strength to walk it, one step at a time. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but it's actually the truest form of courage. It's the willingness to show up and be seen when the outcome is uncertain. Rebuilding yourself requires leaning into this vulnerability, not as a flaw to fix, but as a strength to embrace. Vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and meaningful connection. You must first let go of the need for certainty and control. It's the place where transformation begins. This doesn't mean recklessly exposing yourself. It means being authentic, honest, and open, even when it feels scary. It's admitting when you're struggling, asking for help when you need it, and daring to pursue dreams that might not work out. Vulnerability is also about allowing yourself to feel joy, fear, disappointment, and everything in between. Brené Brown reminds us that vulnerability is where we find our greatest growth. In 2025, stepping into vulnerability means embracing the discomfort of change and the uncertainty of rebuilding. It's not about knowing exactly where the journey will lead, but about trusting yourself enough to take the first step, no matter how wobbly it feels. Rebuilding yourself in 2025 requires protecting your time, energy, and emotional well-being, and that begins with setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out, they're guidelines that define what is and isn't acceptable in your relationships in your life. Setting boundaries with love means approaching this process with kindness and respect for both yourself and others. It's not about rejection or control, but about honoring your needs and creating space for growth. To set boundaries, you first need clarity about what matters most to you. What drains your energy? What gives you strength? Once you identify these, communicate your boundaries clearly and assertively. This can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to prioritizing others over yourself. But as Brené Brown teaches, boundaries are a form of self-care. They allow you to show up authentically without resentment or burnout. When you set boundaries with love, you model respect for yourself and inspire others to do the same. It's not selfish, it's essential. In 2025, practice saying no when it aligns with your values so you can say yes to the things that nurture your soul. Boundaries are a gift to yourself and to the relationships that truly matter. Embracing imperfection is a radical act of self-acceptance and an essential step in rebuilding yourself. In a world that often equates worth with flawlessness, the pressure to be perfect can be overwhelming. But perfectionism is a heavy burden. It keeps you stuck in fear of failure, rejection, and judgment. It tells you that you're never enough, no matter how much you achieve or how hard you try. To rebuild in 2025, you must let go of perfectionism and embrace imperfection as a reflection of your humanity. This doesn't mean settling for mediocrity or ignoring opportunities for growth. It means understanding that your value is not tied to external achievements or appearances. Imperfection is where authenticity lives. It's where you connect deeply with others and where creativity and resilience flourish. Brené Brown reminds us that imperfections make us relatable and lovable. They are the cracks through which light gets in. When you embrace imperfection, you give yourself permission to try, fail, learn, and grow. You release the need to perform and focus instead on being present and true to yourself. In 2025, practice self-compassion and celebrate progress over perfection. You are enough not because you are flawless, but because you are beautifully, unapologetically human.